Coming up on First at 4, many places across the state are still without power following Friday's crazy weather. And one movie theater is set to make a comeback in one eastern Kentucky city.
And after a beautiful day today, we may see a little wet weather head our way tonight. The latest on that shower potential coming up as First at 4 continues.
Mountain News First at 4 continues.
Electric crews are working long hours to get power restored in Kentucky. Thousands of people lost power in southern Kentucky, and while progress has been made, several thousand are still in the dark. A state of emergency is in effect in Pulaski County. WYMT's Phil Pendleton shows us the work they are doing there to restore the power.
Entire neighborhoods like this one just off of Ringgold Road in Somerset have been without electricity since Friday evening. In fact, when all of this started on Friday night, about 50% of the South Kentucky RECC customer base was without electricity. At its peak, 10,000 customers did not have electricity in Pulaski County alone. Many, like Robert Clearing, lost power and have had to deal with it since Friday. He's lost all the food in his refrigerator, but says he's thankful that he can stay in his home and it's not too cold out. Along with many down lines, they also had dozens of broken poles that take considerably longer to replace.
And I know everybody in this neighborhood's been out completely all the way around, and my neighbor across the street, and it's just been real tough with all the kids and stuff, because what do you do with a couple when you got little kids and stuff with nothing, dark house?
16-hour shifts. But we've had crews working around the clock. Somebody's out there all the time. They work 16 hours, they take their 8 off, and then they're right back at it.
I'm told that Pulaski County was hit the hardest from all of the 13 counties that lost electricity. There are crews coming in from out of state to lend a hand. In Pulaski County, Phil Pendleton, now back to you.
Pulaski County's judge executive also says they are opening their compost center on the 914 bypass for people who need to drop off debris. The Hillside Theater in Hazard is reopening in the same location. After shutting down in 2020 due to COVID, the business now has new owners, but the name will remain the same. Brittany Fields says they are excited to get it up and going as quickly as possible.
There's nothing here to do for kids or for families on the weekends, so we were just hoping to get something local back up and going.
The theater is equipped with 4 cinemas and can hold around 500 people total. WYMT's Olivia Calfee will have more about the reopening tonight at 6. The flooding of last summer continues to impact the region in one way or another, and area healthcare workers say they are still focused on recovery. The waters left behind more than a need for manual labor. The mental health impacts of the devastation are one of the current focuses of public health. So the Pike County Health Department is working with Big Sandy Healthcare to provide resources to those in need.
Overwhelmingly, residents and survivors of the July flood in eastern Kentucky stated that they wanted their mental health in person and local. So we knew as public health professionals that we needed to reach out to local resources.
The partnership came as part of the Rapid Needs Assessment the health department conducted in September. If you're in the Big Sandy area struggling with flood-related mental health concerns, you can reach certified professionals at 606-886-8546.
Sitting somewhere 20 degrees above normal today as sunshine is really helping us warm up into the 70s for most as we head out there this afternoon. There's the view from UVA-wise. Again, some of those high clouds continuing to stream in ahead of that next system working our way. It's a little cooler out there. Usually is a little cooler in Southwest Virginia. They sit at 67. Buffalo Mountain here in Perry County, I'm putting us on sunset watch because we see those high clouds moving in from the west, and as that sun sets, I think we're going to see some pretty beautiful colors out there tonight. Low to mid 70s out there this afternoon. Look at the warm spots. 75 Manchester and Somerset, 76 in Monticello, 77 out in the River City of Louisville. So the warm air continues all throughout the Commonwealth. We continue a clean sweep on Pinpoint Doppler, the only green. Some of those river flood warnings up in southern Indiana from last week's big time weather event. Still in the 60s tonight, falling into the 50s. I think our high actually comes right after midnight at 60, and we continue to fall through the day. We'll try to rebound into tomorrow, but other than that, just showery weather as we head into tonight. We'll fall down into the lower 50s, and then we'll try to make a rebound into tomorrow afternoon with a couple of spotty showers tonight. Details, though, on when a few more showers could try to scoot on in. That's in a few minutes. Steve?
All right, Evan, thank you. Fires set and rocks thrown. A violent start to what protesters are calling a week-long mass mobilization just outside of Atlanta. Police say dozens were detained during a protest at the site of a planned police training facility. 23 people now face domestic terrorism charges. Ivan Rodriguez has the latest.
Take a look. Police are calling these people agitators, using a peaceful protest as cover and storming the construction site of a planned police training facility in Atlanta Sunday evening.
This wasn't about a public safety training center. This was about anarchy, and this was about the attempt to destabilize.
In the surveillance video, you can see many of the protesters appear dressed in camo and masks, some even carrying shields. The video shows fireworks, rocks, and even Molotov cocktails thrown at law enforcement. No officers were hurt.
Actions such as this will not be tolerated. When you attack law enforcement officers, when you damage equipment, you are breaking the law. And this was a very violent attack that occurred this evening. Very violent attack.
APD says construction vehicles were torched at the location that opponents call Cop City. Environmental advocates are fighting to preserve the forest, and others say the facility could increase the militarization of police. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp tweeting this statement, saying in part, "Domestic terrorism will not be tolerated in this state. As we continue to respect peaceful protest, we will also continue to ensure safety in our communities." Atlanta police say at least 35 people were detained. Some were from outside Atlanta. I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
Some activists criticize the law enforcement response and characterization of the protest, but police claim they exercised restraint. A Georgia man who was reported missing during a business trip to Baton Rouge, Louisiana last month was found dead earlier today. Baton Rouge police say 42-year-old Nathan Millard's body was found in a vacant lot. A witness told police it was rolled in carpet and covered in plastic. Millard was last seen walking away from a bar a block away from his hotel just before midnight on Wednesday, February 22nd. Officials say they are waiting on the autopsy results to confirm the cause of death. Investigators in Massachusetts have identified a woman's remains found 45 years ago. Officials say the woman, known for decades as Granby Girl, is actually Patricia Ann Tucker. Her skeletal remains were found in a wooded area near a logging road in November 1978 with a bullet wound to her head. An autopsy concluded she was a female between the ages of 19 and 27, and her death was ruled a homicide. She had no identification and was given an unnamed headstone. Investigators say they used old-fashioned police work and forensic genetic genealogy to finally ID the remains. Tucker's son, who was just 5 years old when she died, helped with the identification process. The United States is taking significant steps to combat food insecurity around the world. Pandemic-era supply chain issues, catastrophic climate events, and international conflicts all culminating in higher food prices abroad and here at home. But as many Americans are already contending with higher tabs at the grocery store, millions of households are set to see key additional benefits expire, which could lead to a bigger hunger crisis in some communities. CNN's Mike Valerio is in Los Angeles with that story.
The war in Ukraine exacerbating global food insecurity.
The crisis has been worsened intentionally by President Putin, who's weaponized the hunger of people across the globe.
Last week, the Biden administration announced 3 new partnerships in an effort to boost Ukraine's agricultural sector and help supply the country's grain to the world.
We've got to do 2 things at once. Get food to the hungry now, but also help countries build up their agricultural productivity and resilience.
The conflict directly hitting supplies of critical foodstuffs like wheat, corn, and sunflower oil, while also impacting global agricultural production.
Here's the thing that will affect the United States. 25% of the world's export of nitrogen-based fertilizer comes from Russia, Ukraine. And we don't have a viable substitute for that yet.
Here at home, many Americans feeling the effects, and for some, it could get worse.
We're preparing for an increased demand for food.
The rising cost of food is now set to collide with an end to COVID-era food assistance policy that increased SNAP benefits.
It's almost a twofold effect. The benefit levels going down, and people are already struggling with high food prices.
An estimated 16 million households receiving SNAP benefits will see them decrease by at least $95 a month beginning this month. But as food banks prepare to provide increased assistance to those in need, there is hope that a strong jobs market and improving wages will soften the blow. In Los Angeles, I'm Mike Valerio.
The reduction in benefits impacts people in 32 states and the District of Columbia, and while experts say the reduced benefits will likely be felt across the board by those in need, food scarcity is more likely to impact Black Americans and households with children, according to data from the U.S. Census Bureau. Coming up on First at 4, millions of Americans make their living working for ride-sharing and delivery apps, and they could soon have company.
And don't be shocked to see a couple of showers move in overnight, but other than that, we're looking pretty nice. Those details after this.